At tournaments, sometimes your opponent is just flat out stronger and there is nothing that you can do. But other times you will lose very winnable matches by making the 3 setup mistakes that we will be going over in this video. If you want to stop losing matches you could have won, pay close attention and think about how these apply to your arm wrestling game. Number 1 is going to be telegraphing your move. In most cases it's going to be a big mistake to let your opponent know already in the setup the exact direction in which you are hitting after the ready go. For example, you are going for a posting top roll. So in the setup, you're locking your riser and you're hammer curling really hard. Then, as soon as the ready go comes, your opponent uses this information against you and goes for a quick press and you got flash pinned. Your opponent was able to use the fact that you gave him 0 pressure from the pinky finger side of your palm to his advantage. You also fully committed to locking your riser, so he had a hole available to him to get his cup in immediately for free. So of course he is going to take the counter and beat you easily. So what you should do instead in the setup is provide your opponent with some false information. In our posting top roll example, you can supinate a little bit and you can apply some side pressure in the setup, just so he is unsure if you're going inside or outside. And you might be wondering, what does that help me if both me and my opponent know exactly where I'm going? Even then, your opponent has to physically respond to that in the setup, because otherwise his own arm angle or maybe his wrist position will be off for his own move. Mistake number 2, taking what the opponent is giving to you. Now you've probably heard the Vanderets say this before, but what does it actually mean in practice? At a tournament a year ago, I had the plan in the setup to hook my opponent. Because in the previous start I felt like if it went inside, I would beat him. But just before the go, my opponent gave me his wrist just a tiny little bit. I thought, wow, this guy, he just gave up his wrist. I'm going to top roll him now. Very easy win for me. And of course, as soon as the ready go came, he gained his wrist back. We were inside. I failed my top roll first though, so I was in a pretty bad and open position. So instead of an almost certain win, I received a quick loss just because I took what my opponent was willingly giving to me in the setup. If you're facing somebody who is at least somewhat competent at arm wrestling, stuff like this is almost always going to be a trap, so don't fall for it. This is where leveling or layers of thinking could come in and make things really complicated, but usually in arm wrestling it's not going to be that deep. And now for maybe the most important mistake of this video, number 3, not trusting your instincts. Let's say you get into a match, not knowing your opponent, you grip him up for the first time and you can immediately feel his wrist and his fingers are iron and they are not going to move. But your initial plan was to top roll. So what do? Your instincts are screaming at you to go into another direction, but you still choose to follow through with your initial plan. I lost quite a few very winnable matches doing just that over the years. Try to always adapt to what you're feeling from your opponent in the moment, because usually it's going to be better to go where he is weak. More often than not, doing this is going to lead you closer to victory. That's it for today. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more arm wrestling content.